أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. We seek the protection of God from Shaitan, who has been disqualified from God's kingdom of special grace and mercy. If we avoid the satanic habit of arrogance, whatever we know to be true and right by the guidance of the God-given intellect, by the guidance of the divine revelation, by the guidance of the human conscience, we submit to this truth. And if we avoid the satanic habit of defiance, whatever we know to be wrong and evil and false, by the guidance of the God-given intellect and divine revelation and human conscience, we don't commit that evil. And if we have reliance on God, definitely we will be enlightened to be able to recognize what is right and wrong, what is satanic and what is divine in our thoughts, in our feelings. And we shall be given the strength and the power of determination to be able to resist and to say no to the temptation. And also the ability to overcome the evil and to do good. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We humbly seek the grace and guidance of God because He is Allah, the all-perfect being. Therefore nobody can achieve any goodness or perfection until and unless Allah wills it so. And we ask for His grace and guidance because He is Rahman. His Rahmah, His mercy, His love, His care reaches out to each and every entity and brings it to life, sustains it, and enables it to reach its goal of creation. And we ask for His grace and guidance because He is Rahim. He is overflowing, abundant love and mercy is available eternally, both here in the dunya for those who believe and do good deeds, and especially in the akhirah, reward and blessings and bounties which are eternal, which are diverse, which are profound, which are beyond our imagination. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala sayyidina wa nabiyyina Muhammad wa alihi at-tahirin. And we send our salutations and greetings on the Holy Prophet and on his holy progeny, who are the chosen representatives for mankind, because they understood who God is, what His beautiful names are, how God is running the universe, what is the plan of creation, what is the role they have to play, how to guide mankind towards God. And they achieve the closest possible connection to God possible for any other human being. And we send our salutations on His holy progeny, who are the next best after Him. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. As we commemorate the tragedy of Karbala, it's important to remind ourselves that though we were not there in history at that time, but the lessons and the teachings and the morals are timeless. Not only that, Imam Hussein alayhi salam himself, in the other world, in the world of Barzakh, which is beyond the realm of time, also has a connection to this physical, earthly life. There's an interesting hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, where he describes the status of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and how he is watching over us, and how he is praying for us, and how he even requests his father and grandfather to pray for us. إِنَّهُ لَيَنْظُرُ إِلَى مَنْ يَبْكِيهِ فَيَسْتَغْفِرُ لَهُ. Imam alayhi salam is watching all those who weep for him and prays for their forgiveness. So one is a prayer for forgiveness that we ask from God. One is a prayer of forgiveness which Imam asks from God for us. And whose prayer do you think is going to be answered more? وَيَسْأَلُ أَبَاهُ الْإِسْتِغْفَارُ لَهُ. Not only does he pray for us, but he asks his father, and therefore grandfather, to pray for us. In the Quran, there are certain sins which are of social, political implications, whereby some people disobey the authority of the Prophet. So the Quran in Surah Nisa says such people, once they realize the mistake they have done, if they go and ask for forgiveness from God, it's not enough. Because it was not a personal sin that only affected them as an individual. The effect of that disobedience was social, so they must come to the leader and the commander to ask him also to pray for their forgiveness. وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ إِذْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ جَاءُوكَ. And if these munafiqeen, the context is the munafiqeen. A person has to be so weak in his faith that he would dare to disobey the command of the Prophet, a disobedience which would negatively affect the strength and the unity and the community of the Muslim Ummah. So when these munafiqeen come to you, when they have wronged themselves and society by their misbehavior, فَاسْتَغْفَرُوا اللَّهَ, and then they seek sincerely forgiveness from God. وَاسْتَغْفَرَ لَهُمُ الرَّسُولُ, and also the Prophet prays for their forgiveness. لَوَجَدُوا اللَّهَ تَوَّابًا رَحِيمًا. Definitely God is very eager to give His mercy. But who is ready to receive His mercy? Not everybody qualifies to receive His mercy. You can't go to the ocean and take a vessel which is closely packed and dip it into the ocean and expect the clean water to enter that vessel. It won't. The vessel has to open up. The heart has to make a determination that it has done something wrong and now it wants to change, and the process of transformation is to ask for forgiveness. And then if the Prophet prays, that Allah will forgive. So also Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So also through Imam Hussein, his father and his grandfather can pray for those who weep for him. وَيَقُولُ, beyond that, Imam alayhi salam now addresses this azada, this mourner and weeper. يَا أَيُّهَا الْبَاكِي لَوْ عَلِمْتَ مَا أَعَدَّ اللَّهُ لَكَ. If you are only to know what God has prepared for you as reward for this act of virtue that you're performing, that of azab, لَفَرَحْتَ كَثِيرًا أَكْثَرَ مِمَّا حَزِنْتَ. You would be extremely joyous. You are sad right now, but if you only to realize the reward that God has promised. So externally we're weeping, but internally there's a lot of positive change that should occur. A positive change whose consequences will bring us extreme joy in the future. وَإِنَّهُ لَيَسْتَغْفِرُ لَهُ مِنْ كُلِّ ذَنْبٍ وَخَطِيئَةٍ. And this act of virtue of weeping has the power to bring the mercy of God for all his sins. This relationship between the Imam alayhi salam and us who want to connect to him through weeping is mentioned in the Quran in the context of the ayah which talks about the shaheed. And don't you think the shaheed is dead? No, he's alive. Surah Al-Imran, after the discussion of the battle of Uhud, Surah Al-Imran discusses the battle of Uhud from ayah number 120 something till ayah number 180, 60 verses. Around ayah number 170 is the declaration about the status of the shaheed. وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. The shaheed is alive, He is getting special sustenance from God in a higher realm and level of life. فَرِحِينَ بِمَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. They're very exultant and joyous as a result of the special grace that God is granting them. وَيَسْتَبْشِرُونَ بِالَّذِينَ لَمْ يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ مِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ. And they, the shaheed, give bashara to those who haven't yet joined them. أَلَّا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Don't you worry and don't you have any fear that there will be punishment for you or grieve over the loss of anything that you may have to give up. Follow the path of Shahada and you will also be rewarded. So Imam as Sayyid al-Shuhada obviously is trying to connect to us. But who is listening? Who is receptive to that message that is coming from the other side? In Surah Yasin also this is mentioned that وَجَاءَ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ رَجُلٌ يَسْعَى. Towards the end of that paragraph, and when he completes his discussion and tries to convince them to support these apostles who have come from the messenger of the time, they say, he tells them, إِنِّي آمَنْتُ بِرَبِّكُمْ فَاسْمَعُونِي. If they are rejecting you, I am accepting the message that you have given. قِيلَ ادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ. As a result of his declaration of acceptance of the divine message, he is told, go to Jannah. What happened? He just said, I've accepted, and now he's been told, go to Jannah. In between something happened, but the Quran doesn't mention. What happened is when he said, yes, I've accepted, against the whole community who was rejected, he was attacked and killed. But then the gap between dying as a shaheed and entering into Jannah is so short, the Quran skips it. Straight away the Quran says, he said yes, Allah said go to Jannah. قِيلَ ادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ. Once he goes to Jannah, the Jannah of Barzakh of course, not of Qiyamah. In Barzakh he said, Ya layta qawmi ya'lamun. Oh, I wish my people were to know the reward and the pleasure Allah has given me here in Barzakh, in the Jannah of Barzakh. If an ordinary shaheed, if the shuhada of Uhud and Badr, as mentioned in the Quran, are enjoying the status, definitely Sayyid al-Shuhada is also enjoying the station to a higher degree. Tonight, inshallah, we shall be discussing the sacrifice of Hazrat Abbas bin Amir al-Mu'mineen. It's very rare that we get any declaration about the status of the different companions who were there in Karbala by the Imams. But regarding Hazrat Abbas, there is a declaration made by Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. He says, Rahimallahu Ammi al-Abbas. May Allah bless my uncle Abbas. May Allah give him special mercy. فَلَقَدْ آثَرَ. For several reasons. Number one is he did ithar. Ithar is when you sacrifice and you give more than what you take. وَأَبْلَى. But of course he had to undergo a lot of bala in the process. Number two. Number three, وَفَدَى أَخَاهُ بِنَفْسِهِ. He made himself fida for the sake of his brother Hussein alayhi salam. حَتَّى قُطِعَتْ يَدَاهُ. Till both his hands were cut. أَبْدَلَهُمَ اللَّهُ بِهِمَا جَنَاحَيْنِ. And Allah then replaces those two hands that have been cut off with two wings in paradise. يَطِيرُ بِهِمَا مَعَ الْمَلَائِكَةِ فِي الْجَنَّةِ كَمَا جَعَلَ لِجَعْفَرٍ بِنْ أَبِي طَالِبٍ. The same reward that was promised to Ja'far bin Abi Talib by the Holy Prophet ﷺ when he was killed and his two hands were cut off in the Battle of Mu'tah in the 8th year of Hijrah, so also this reward is promised to Abbas alayhi. But the difference is, if Hamza is Sayyid al-Shuhada of his time, and Imam Hussein alayhi salam is Sayyid al-Shuhada of all times, so also Abbas, Inna lil-Abbasi inda Allahi manzila. He enjoys a status and a rank of closeness to the all-perfect being. Abbas, يَغْبِطُهُ بِهَا جَمِيعُ الشُّهَدَاء يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. All the other shuhada except for Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the other ma'sumin. All the shuhada will envy that position that he occupies close to God. Question, what did Abbas do to acquire and attain this reward that has been promised? In order to appreciate that, we need to remind ourselves that a supreme sense of selflessness, of sacrifice, of submitting to the authority of the Imam, of wafa. These are mentioned in the ziyarat that the Imams have taught us to recite for Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam. Wafa, nasiha. Nasiha is when you wish nothing but goodness for others. And fida, and ithar. These are qualities which are supreme, they are divine, they are blessed. These are virtues which the riwayat and the Quran recommend. The riwayat says, Afdalul ibadah. The best of the ibadah you can ever do is to be selfless, to sacrifice, to help somebody else, despite the fact that you also need something for yourself, but you give it away. You share, and then you give it away. Or, a'la al-makarim. You're looking for makarim al-akhlaq? The noblest of all the human virtues, ithar, to be able to give away in the way of God. Ihsan, no, ahsanul ihsan is this act of sacrifice. And therefore, it's a very important virtue that we need to remind ourselves about. And what is it that blocks us from achieving and actualizing this potential? Historically, the two major systems that came to govern man, communism and capitalism, there were two different views about man. The individualist view and the socialist or the collectivist view of man. What is the best system that can ensure maximum happiness for the majority? Of course, communism in the latter part of the 20th century failed when the Soviet Union collapsed. So the supporters of capitalist individualism, they were extremely happy to declare end of history, meaning that in the history of human experimentation of what is successful and what is a failure, capitalist liberalism has proven its superiority and triumph and victory over collectivist socialist communism. So in politics there should be minimum government. In ethics, individualism means it's my personal understanding and my personal feelings, and no higher authority will come and tell me what is right and what's wrong. Morality and ethics will be determined by myself individually. And in philosophy and epistemology they had their own premises. Socially, they started creating a society which was alienated and atomized and broken up. In fact, even in religion, a movement towards individualism in religion meant that lesser and lesser association and affiliation with the church. And they said, no, we're not rejecting God, we're rejecting the church. So we are not religious in the church sense of the word, but we're spiritual. Where we seek mystical experiences and spirituality through other than the church. But this movement of individualism spread in the 20th century. And politically we saw during the Arab Spring In one sense, it was the autonomy and the independence of the individual versus the state that was showing itself. So, social scientists are saying throughout the world, there is an increase in the awakening of individuals in their lives from lives as children or as slaves or as subjects or as serfs or as followers. There is an awakening to become autonomous, independent individuals. There is one social scientist and opinion researcher. For the past 30, 40 years, he's been making a global survey. And he says one of the stronger findings that he has consistently found increasing throughout the world right now is the trend, the universal, global, secular trend towards increasing individualism. And of course, the United States is the capital, the home of the free, the leader in this trend. But the rest of the world also is following. However, inasmuch as excessive collectivism and communism was evil, individualism to a certain extent, good, but to an excessive extent, as is practiced in the capitalist societies, unfortunately also has its harmful effects. So the sense of my worth and my entitlement, and I should be 5 times more than the rest, and 10 times more, and 100 times more than the rest. This sense of entitlement, me, I'm different from the others. And the selfish indifference to the needs of the others. But of course, the defenders of individualism, they say, well, if you compare the two, excessive collectivism, oppressive socialist communism, excessive individualism, yeah, it has some harmful consequences, but lesser compared to the socialist. What if you assume there are only 2 options? What if we say, no, there's a third option? And that's what Abbas alayhi salam is presenting as a third option. The study that was conducted here in Britain, commissioned by the Children's Society in Britain a few years ago, the Good Childhood Inquiry, they call it. Britain's first independent national inquiry into conditions which can lead to a good childhood. So after 2 years of in-depth investigation of 35,000 children, parents, professionals, they came up with the final report. And the final report said that the greatest threat to our children, this is Britain, is the aggressive pursuit of individual success by the adults today. Interesting, the greatest threat to British children is not obesity. Yes, it is a problem, but it's not the greatest. Or gang violence, or online predators, or drug abuse, or alcohol abuse, or sexual abuse, or suicide. These are problems, but not the greatest. The greatest? Individualism amongst the adults, parents. So it's the me first generation. Some scientists, some social scientists are calling them. And it's leading to family breakdowns and to growing gap between the rich and poor, the unkindness amongst teens, the premature sexualization of kids through the process of advertisement and media. And this report says Britain's childhood is marked by problems at home and in school, violence among children, anxiety, depression, mental illness, promiscuity, sexual perversion, teenage pregnancy. Teenage pregnancy in Britain is supposed to be the worst in the whole of Western Europe. Youth gangs and knifings and drug abuse and alcohol abuse and suicide. The cause, these problems are there, but the cause is the individualism. And the individual is led to believe that the prime duty in my life and the absolute goal that I should pursue and nothing should stop me is to make the most of my own life. My obligations to the spouse, to the family, to the children, to the community, to the society are all secondary. It's my personal achievement, which is absolute. So, promotion of the self, pride in oneself, glorifying the narcissistic tendencies, where the creed that what I want I should get. And when is it that you want it? Their cry is, I want it now. I'm not going to wait. This is known as self-gratification, but not delayed, postponed self-gratification. Immediate, instant self-gratification. Well, that's instinctually an animal lifestyle, but it's been promoted as a self-actualizing individual should aspire for this type of lifestyle. And there are wise people and elderly of the past generations, before this me generation, who are complaining. So it's the Anglo-Saxon world, be it America, be it Britain, if they achieve success, Britain, the huge empire, the past, America, the empire right now, they were not built by such greedy, self-indulgent, demanding generation. They were built by people who were ready to sacrifice for their nation, for their community. And therefore they are warning that if this spirit of sacrifice and this spirit of helping your neighbor declines and dies out, then it will lead to the downfall of the power of the Anglo-Saxon Empire. Another report, egos are inflating over time, which is produced by a psychologist. This report, a research team led by a psychologist in the University of San Diego, she warns that we have a generation now of children growing up who have a lack of empathy. They don't understand that others are suffering. There's a lack of empathy in this new generation. There's a fixation and a focusing on the self in this new generation. There's general lack of manners in this new generation. There's an inability to contribute to the society. And ultimately, therefore, they are turning out to be unattractive job seekers also. CEOs don't like such attitudes in their applicants. But the danger, of course, is it is being noted, it is being alerted, and the warning is issuing here in the Anglo-Saxon world, but the trend is global. It's spreading. There are three movements that have been identified, which have become global, which are contributing to this individualism. One is the more revolution, one is the mobility revolution, and one is the mentality revolution. The more revolution, they mean that since the 1980s, when China began to pick up, more and more people have entered into the middle class and have been saved from poverty. So we're talking about 660 million Chinese who have escaped from poverty and servitude. And according to the World Bank, since 2006, 28 low-income countries have joined the ranks of the middle-income countries. Not only that, but they're saying the number of scientists also, the working scientists, the number increased from 4 million something to 6 million something. over a period of 10 years from 1999 to 2009. So there's the more revolution. There's a huge change going on in the world where more and more people are becoming relatively richer and saved from poverty. Now this emerging middle class, obviously, they want to live a fuller life. And a fuller life means this middle class is not going to be easy to control. There's a streak and tendency towards individualism amongst this emerging class. That's one. The more revolution, they call it. And then there is the mobility revolution, whereby the diasporas, ethnic and religious and professional diasporas, the brain drain, the urbanization, the migrations. Again, that also restricts the ability of nations to control across borders. We're seeing what's happening in the Syrian migration crisis. And finally, what is contributing to the global individualism is the mentality revolution, or the expectations revolution. So, those who get more, middle class, they tend not to be satisfied. Their mentality is they want more. So, governments and churches and political parties are beginning to feel the effect of this individualism. Notice the apathy during voting. Political parties are suffering. Notice the absence and the falling attendance in churches. Marriage is being affected by individualism. Forget about the Western world. Islamic world is suffering. Statistics in Saudi show rising divorce rates. Iran, rising divorce rates. UAE, it's 1 in 4 marriages. Kuwait is 1 in 2.5 marriages. Saudi is 1 in 5 marriages. Iran is, I don't know, 1 in 3 or 1 in 2 marriages. The divorce rates are shooting up. There is a tendency towards individualism which is spreading, unfortunately. It's affecting marriages also. And, God forbid, we've come into a society where adultery is proudly available on the internet. I don't know if you've heard about this hacking that took place of a website where the hackers spilled out the names of millions. My God, 33 million members of an adulterous website. Life is short, have an affair, they said. This is extreme individualism. The result has been this individualism began in the capital, United States, the capital of the Mecca of the capitalist world, and now it's spreading elsewhere. There's a sociologist by the name of Professor Putnam, Robert Putnam. He got a degree here in Oxford University, then Yale, and then Harvard, and he did a study about the effects of individualism in America. And he said he found that Americans now sign lesser petitions. They're not bothered about issues that affect the community. Americans belong to fewer organizations. Americans know their neighbors less. Americans socialize with friends less frequently. Americans get together with their own families less often. Children return to empty homes each day from the school. The electronic culture entertains us without any meaningful social interaction. And so alienation is growing in our community. President Obama gave him a medal, the medal of the National Humanities Medal in 2013 for his study on the effects of the breakdown of the American community. Cause, individualism. The Quran gives us a beautiful example of the spirit of sacrifice that was there right on the first occasion when the Muslims got the freedom to practice their faith. Ansar in Medina, Muhajirin from Mecca. This mass migration that took place, homeless people. Perhaps they left everything behind, all their possessions. They came empty-handed to Medina. They had to be accommodated. By the guidance of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Ansar open up their homes and share their homes with the Muhajirin. And this is liked by God so much that it is praised in Surah Hashr, ayah number 9. Allah says, وَالَّذِينَ تَبَوَّأُوا الدَّارَ وَالْإِيمَانَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. And these people who came and settled in the house of Iman, Medina. And in fact, they settled, more important than them physically settling down in the city of Iman, Medina, was them settling Iman in their hearts. يُحِبُّونَ مَنْ هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِمْ. They love these people who are migrating. When somebody is migrating, I don't make salam to him, I don't want to know him, I am not bothered about his plight. That's one attitude. Another attitude is, welcome, how are you, nice to see you, I can help you, maybe you'll find accommodation for you. And no, the attitude here is يُحِبُّونَ. They love and they welcome, they're hospitable to these migrating, poor, homeless Muhajirin, number one. Number two, وَلَا يَجِدُونَ فِي صُدُورِهِمْ حَاجَةً مِمَّا أُوتُوا. The Prophet ﷺ distributes the mal ghanimat which the government gets. The share which they ought to get, they don't feel they need it, because now they see their brethren who need more. So already there's that sense of contentment and sense of simplicity and sense of being satisfied with little in life. Allah is praising it, the spirit of community. And number three, the Quran praises them. وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. And they prefer to give to the immigrant, to the migrant, though they may also need it. That's the beauty. So it's something like, I want to help, I'll give you 1% charity. Good. No, 10%. Very good. 50%, half. Absolutely wonderful. No, but this is not what the Quran is saying. The Quran is saying, no, I'm ready to give up my share. 50-50, no, 60-40. You take 60, I keep 40. That's the attitude being praised here. How do you explain the spirit of giving? Well, that's the best solution to the spirit of individualism and selfishness and egocentricity. وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. And those who are protected and guarded and saved from their own greed, they are the ones who are successful and felicitous. Shuh. In the case of marriage, in Surah Nisa, Allah talks about how to bring about compromise and settlement in cases of conflict and dispute in marriages. And typical of the Quran, it doesn't only give you the laws. Haram, halal, you must do this, you must not do this. Somewhere down the line in the ayah, you'll find a moral lesson, a spiritual lesson. Allah says in that verse, Surah Nisa, chapter 4, ayah 128, وَأُحْضِرَتِ الْأَنفُسِ الشُّحَّ. The problem with achieving settlement and agreement and compromise and sacrifice in marriage, the problem is greed, selfishness, self-centeredness. The Quran is identified, that's the core problem. What British society had to find out from 35,000 people interview, the Quran already mentions it. And this is the spirit we find in Karbala. But before I mention that, let me just share with you a hadith from Imam Salih alayhi salam. The problem with greed is it is a monopolistic tendency within the human being. If not controlled, it not only wants to get everything more and more for itself, but it wants more and more and less for others. So Imam alayhi salam says that إِنَّ الْبَخِيلَ يَبْخَلُ بِمَا فِي يَدَيْهِ. This person who is greedy doesn't want to give whatever he has, but more than that, يَشُحُّ بِمَا فِي أَيْدِي النَّاسِ. He also is greedy for what is there in other people's possessions, that he should get that also. حتى لا يرى في أيدي الناس شيئا إلا تمنى أن يكون له بالحل والحرام. It doesn't matter for him. He wants to get what others have, whether by halal means or by haram means. Greed doesn't stop anywhere. Greed is a bottomless, ever increasing desire for more. So one of the riwayat gives a logical argument why the greedy, it's good for him to be sharing. Imam alayhi salam says, إِنَّ حَقَّ النَّاسِ بِأَنْ يَتَمَنَّى لِلنَّاسِ الْغِنَى الْمُخَلَى. Amongst all the people, the one group of people who should strive the most to ensure that others also get enough are these greedy people. Because what's going to happen is these needy people are going to come to these rich and greedy people to ask for help. Well, why don't you give something to these poor people, enable them to enjoy a decent life? They won't come to you, they won't come after your money. Logically, therefore, monopolistic tendencies are counterintuitive because they work against the greed of the greedy. Professor Putnam, interesting study, 25 years, he says, a quarter of a century, look at America, between 1979 to the year 2005. The income, the average after-tax income, adjusted for inflation, he says, it grew over this 25-year period. He compares for the bottom 1/5, for the middle 1/5, and the top 1%. I'm just giving round figures, not exact figures. For the bottom 1/5, the income increased by $900. For the middle income, it grew by $9,000. For the top, it increased by $900,000, the income over this time period. I'm giving you rough figures, this is not exact. Look at the comparison. $900, $9,000, $900,000. Look at the greed. Where do you stop it? And therefore, the riwayah warns us that the greedy, in order to attain and procure and possess, will be ready to earn it from haram, will be ready to do dhulm and oppression, will be ready to lie, will be ready to do qat'i rahim, disconnect from his relatives, will be ready, God forbid, to commit the most heinous of crimes. He'd be ready even to kill. Excessive greed. Essentially, greed, excessive individualism, the riwayah says, is a branch from the tree of the hellfire. البخل شجرة في النار أغصانها في الدنيا من تعلق بغصن منها قاده ذلك الغصن إلى النار. There's a tree in the fire of hell. The branches extend to the dunya. You know, they say the relationship with the dunya and the akhirah is like that, the seed and the fruit. You sow the seed here, you get the fruit there. The tree is there, the fruit. The branch is here. Whoever holds on to this branch, the branch of greed, gradually will be taken to the tree of the fire of hell. May Allah protect us. Solution, share. Solution, giving. Solution, getting involved in the community. Solution, not only sharing a little, but sharing more and more. Making a habit to give sadaqah frequently. One final hadith. Amazing. I didn't realize how serious this was. But this hadith is amazing. One of the narrators says, I saw Imam Salih alayhi salam in tawaf. You know, during tawaf, there is no wajib dhikr that you must recite around the Kaaba. But I saw him make a dua. Strange that dua he did in all his rounds, night till the morning. Apparently it's mustahab to do more and more tawaf. So the dua was, Allahumma qini shuhha nafsi. Allah protect me from the greed of myself. That inner selfishness. That was the only dua he made in all the rounds the whole night. So I went to him and I asked him, مَا سَمِعْتُكَ تَدْعُو بِغَيْرِ هَذَا الدُّعَى. You did not make any other dua. And Imam alayhi salam says, tell me which is worst sin, the root of all sins, other than greed and selfishness and individualism. And you want proof for that? The Quran. The Quran says, وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ. The one who is guarded and protected and saved from this excessive, greedy individualism, he's in Jannah. Only one step, and you go to Jannah. That's how important it is. And that's how we praise Abbas alayhi salam. Amazing degree of selflessness. Abbas alayhi salam had 3 other brothers from al-Banin. So in all fairness, they were the sons of Amirul Mu'mineen. Allow me first to make a quick reference to the 3 brothers so we can contrast him to Abbas alayhi salam. One was Abdullah al-Asghar, the second one was Uthman bin Ali, and the third was Ja'far bin Ali. The oldest, after Hazrat Abbas, 25-year-old, was Abdullah al-Asghar bin Ali. Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam tells him on the day of Ashura, Taqaddam, why don't you proceed? I want to see your sacrifice with my own eyes. And I will grieve over you, because you have no son. Abdullah al-Asghar proceeds to the battlefield. Amazing, these youth of Bani Hashim, they're all very proud of their father, Amirul Mu'mineen. أنا ابن ذي النجدة والإفضال ذاك علي الخير ذو الفعال سيف رسول الله ذو النكال في كل يوم ظاهر الأحوال. If you don't know me, let me introduce myself. I'm the son of the brave man, full of merits. I'm the son of Ali, the virtuous, the most active on the battlefield. I'm the son of the sword of the Prophet of God. I'm the son of the one who was a severe retribution and punishment on the battlefield for the disbelievers. I'm the son of the one who every day created horror and terror in the hearts of the disobedient disbelievers. Very brave man, motivates himself, frightens the enemy, but the center of pride is Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. And Imam al-Zaman Ajjalallahu Farajahu in Ziyarat Nahiya praises him. Assalamu ala Abdullah bin Amir al-Mu'mineen Mubli al-Bala al-Munadi bil-Wala في عرصات كربلاء المضروب مقبلا ومدبرا. Salams be on Abdullah, son of Amir al-Mu'mineen, the one who is tested severely, the one who clearly showed his loyalty to the Ahlul Bayt in the land of Karbala, the one who was right in the middle of the battlefield such that he was attacked from the front of his body and he was attacked from the back of his body. لَعَنَ اللَّهُ قَاتِلَهُ هَانِي بِنْ ثُبَيْتَ الْحَضْرَمِي. May Allah curse his killer, Hani. The second younger brother of Abbas, 21 years old, is Uthman bin Ali. When he went to the battlefield, again, he's proud of his father. إِنِّي أَنَا عُثْمَانُ ذُو الْمَفَاخِرِ شَيْخِي عَلِي ذُو الْفَعَالِ الطَّاهِرِ
هذا حسين سيد الأخائر بعد رسول الله والوصي الناصر سيد الأصاغر والأكابر. Arabs, strong in their words, meaningful, powerful. If you don't know me, let me tell you I'm Uthman. Incidentally, Amir al-Mu'mineen names his son Uthman because one of the close companions of the Prophet was buried in Baqi', Uthman bin Mad'un. And it was beloved to the Prophet. So Ali alayhi salam names the son according to that companion's name. I am Uthman, full of honor, because my father, the great Ali, was the pure one. And his son here, Hussein, is the best of all the virtuous ones. And he, after Rasulullah, has been the defender of the true faith. Again, pride in Ali, pride in Hussein, alayhi salam. That's the first and foremost requirement for us, is we recognize the status of virtue and honor of these leaders. The third brother of Abbas, Ja'far, 20-year-old Ja'far bin Ali. إني أنا جعفر ذو المعالي نجل علي الخير ذو النوالي ذاك الوصي ذو السناء والوالي حسبي بعمي جعفر والخالي أحمي الحسين ذا الندى المفضالي. If you don't know me, I'm Ja'far, the one who is exalted. I am the son of Ali, who is full of blessings. If you don't know him, he was the wasi and the wali of the Prophet. And I'm happy to be named Ja'far bin Ali. I'm happy to be named after my uncle Ja'far, who was killed in the Battle of Mu'tah. Here I am, proudly defending the man of virtue, Hussein. Notice, anyone there in the army who doubted the authenticity and the righteousness of these people, would you doubt the Prophet? Would you doubt Ja'far? Would you doubt Ali? These are all associated with them. It seems that there was respect for these heroes of Islam, and that's why they were invoking their association with these heroes. But finally, of course, is the sacrifice of Abbas alayhi salam himself. In the last moments when all have given up their lives, he comes to Imam alayhi salam and says, I can't bear staying here anymore. It's very difficult for me. لَقَدْ ضَاقَ صَدْرِي. If the holy lady Hajar in the sa'i between Safa and Marwa 7 times she went, and finally Allah gave her water through her son Ismail, it is on us to make sa'i and to strive and to struggle and to serve. Allow me to strive and struggle and serve these little children who are crying out of thirst. Imam alayhi salam grants him permission just to go and get water. He has to, if you remember this poster which I showed last time, just in order to impress upon you the huge army that Abbas alayhi salam had to face. Notice that the army of Yazid is near the Furat. So in order for Abbas alayhi salam from here to reach here, he has to cross this army. It is said that he had to face 4,000 soldiers who were stationed near the river. If we accept the estimate that there were 72 companions in Karbala, and if we accept that there were minimum, there could be more, 30,000 on the army of Ibn Ziyad, 72 for 30,000, that works out to roughly, for every one person, about 400 soldiers. But that's for ordinary people. For the flag bearer, for the next in command, for Abbas, there were 4,000 single-handedly to face. And the man is brave enough. He makes them run helter-skelter, and he manages to reach the Furat. And he collects the water. But the amazing thing about Abbas, and that's why we are proud of his selflessness, is he gets the chance to drink water but does not drink water. He says, Ya nafs, min ba'd al-Husayn yihuni. Nafs, what is there for you to live for after Hussein? How could you drink and Hussein is thirsty? Ya nafs, من بعد الحسين يهوني فبعده لا كنت أن تكوني هذا الحسين شارب المنون تشربين بارد النعيم والله ما هذا في حال ديني. Abbas could have drunk. I'm a warrior, I'm a defender, I'm a water provider. Let me get some strength and then I'll go back and defend. He could have drunk. No. But his sense of drinking for bodily thirst was overcome by his spiritual strength. He said, no, Hussein should drink first, not me. No, the children of Hussein should drink, not me. No, Abbas did not drink because he said, oh Lord, I want to meet you, a thirsty warrior. That's the spirit of sacrifice and selflessness that we are so proud of in Abbas. He comes out. 4,000 are not enough to stop him. The army is 30,000 strong. More than 4,000 now come to intercept and prevent him from to return back to the tents. And Abbas, strange and strong. لا أرهب الموت إذا الموت رقى حتى أوار في المصاليت لقى. I'm not afraid of death. Come all in big numbers. I will dive into the sea of death. He's surrounded by swords and spears. نفسي لنفس المصطفى الطهر وقى إني أنا العباس أغدو بالسقا. My nafs is sacrificed for Mustafa, the pure one, and his son. لا أخاف شر يوم الملتقى. Very brave, strong, courageous. And he doesn't allow himself to be intimidated by these huge numbers, swords, stones, spears. They are insignificant. His goal is high. Everything else is secondary. That's the brave Abbas. But then, of course, we're talking about numbers, more than 4,000 now. And he's ambushed and his right hand is suddenly cut off. Abbas is bleeding, Abbas is in pain, but he doesn't give up hope. This is a man whose spirit and soul controls his body. Not his bodily pain weakens his soul. And therefore he says, Wallahi in qata'tum yamini inni uhami abadan an dini an imam sadiq al-yaqini najl al-nabiy al-tahir al-amini. Strong words, loudly spoken. You will not intimidate me and stop me. You cut off my right hand, I will continue to defend Imam and the Deen and the Prophet and the godly values with all my being. And he continues, and then yet another ambush, and his left hand is cut off. Abbas doesn't give up. What is this body? The body is just a vehicle, it's just a means, it's just an instrument, it's the soul. The remaining part of the body can still fight. The soul fights. Ya nafs, la takhsha min al-kuffari, wa abshiri bi rahmatil jabbari, ma'a al-nabiy as-sayyid al-mukhtari, qad qata'u bi baghihim yasari, fa aslihim ya rabbi harwa an-nari. But ultimately, when the overwhelming numbers attack him, and his head, and his chest, is struck, and then he loses balance and he falls down. That's the time when he cries out for his brother Imam Hussein alayhi salam. I will skip the details of what happens when Imam arrives at the death place of Abbas. Can you shift your attention briefly back to the tent? If you have a friend or a relative or a close, dear, near person who's gone out and you are awaiting their return and you're expecting them any time, what would you feel feel, where is my brother, where is my uncle? He's coming back. But especially you'll be more worried if you know they've gone to a dangerous area. You're all the more restless, all the more worried, all the more agonizing in your pain. Longer the wait, longer the worry of the safety. You're restless, you move up and down, you pray. Finally, imagine the young Sakina is finally seeing her father, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, come back from the battlefield. My father, you have come back, but you're all alone and you look so different from the time that you went. Where is my uncle? Imam Hussein alayhi salam at that time says, Al-ana inkasar Allah. Abbas, the brave, flag bearer, water carrier, water provider, he finds himself helpless, he finds himself limbless. He's now embarrassed, Abbas, we can imagine, for him. This brave man, never ever in his life has he let down the family of Hussein and Hussein alayhi salam himself. Now for the first time he finds himself helpless. He's embarrassed. He is fallen on the bloody sand of Karbala without any hand. But to the honor of Abbas, he never ever submitted and surrendered to this evil band. Imam Hussein, now without Abbas, seems to be broken, yes. But the Ummah, Hussein is broken temporarily, but the Ummah has awoken. Then never ever, despite all the pressure and all the attacks, never ever should you surrender to evil. al-Banin proudly mentions her son when the army comes back, when the caravan comes back to Medina. She asks, she says that, I wasn't in Karbala, but those who did see Abbas, they told me that this son of Haidar was such that I swear to you, not a single enemy would dare to touch Hussein or the children of Hussein had my Abbas been alive. Assalamu ala Hussein, ala Ali ibn Hussein, ala Hussein, Hussein.
Meu chefe.